On the 13th of April 1919, the festival of Baisakhi turned into a bloodbath in Amritsar. A peaceful crowd had gathered at the Jallianwala Bagh to celebrate the spring harvest. Little did they know the cold-blooded atrocity that the British forces, led by General Dyer, would unleash. General Dyer entered the Jallianwala Bagh not to disperse the peaceful crowd, but with entirely evil intentions. With nearly 100 soldiers and 2 armoured vehicles, Dyer blocked the single entry to the Jallianwala Bagh. The next 10 minutes witnessed one of the most gruesome mass murders in Indian history. General Dyer's troops opened fire on the peaceful gathering. The bullet marks of Dyer's carnage continue to be preserved at the Jallianwala Bagh till date. A British inquiry claims less than 400 were killed, but Indian authorities know that over 1,000 peaceful protesters were killed on the 13th of April 1919 at the hands of General Reginald Dyer. General Dyer was hailed as the man who saved India by the Brits after he returned. In fact, £26,000 were raised via crowdfunding and presented to him. Rather than being punished and held accountable, he was instead rewarded for the massacre. Remember, the British have offered no formal apology till date for this incident. They offered a token statement in 2019 expressing deep regrets for the atrocity. Prime Minister Modi today shared a special video that describes the horrific events and highlighted the victims' unmatched bravery and selflessness.
13 अप्रैल 1919 के वो 10 मिनट हमारी आजादी की लड़ाई की वो सत्य गाथा, चीर गाथा बन गई। अमानवीयता की सारी हदें पार कर दी। वो मासूम बालक बालिकाएं, वो बहनें, वो भाई, जिनके सपने आज भी जलियांवाला बाग की दीवारों में अंकित गोलियों के निशाने में दिखते। जलियांवाला बाग वो स्थान है जिसने सरदार उधम सिंह, सरदार भगत सिंह जैसे अनगिनत क्रांतिवीर को हिंदुस्तान की आजादी के लिए मर मिटने का हौसला दिया। ये मेरा सौभाग्य रहा है कि मुझे कई बार जलियांवाला बाग की इस पवित्र धरती पर आने का, यहाँ की पवित्र मिट्टी को माथे पर लगाने का सौभाग्य मिला। जलियांवाला बाग की पवित्र मिट्टी को मेरा अनेक अनेक प्रणाम।
Bashmati Mukherjee, former ambassador, joins us live. We also have Lieutenant General Kamaljeet Singh, defense expert, joining us live. Ramneek Singh Maan, political analyst, is live with us. Utpal Kaul, historian, also joins the broadcast. Let me begin with you first, Ambassador Mukherjee. How important is it to remember and commemorate those who lost their lives in Jallianwala Bagh even today in 2024?
First of all, Uday, I would like to wish especially my Sikh brothers and sisters a very happy New Year, happy Baisakhi, and to say that we must look at Jallianwala Bagh in its historical context. When the World War I broke out, Gandhiji was told by the British that if the British Indian Army fought for the imperialists to win the war, we would be rewarded with autonomy. But instead, when the war ended and they won because of the British Indian Army, we were first rewarded with the Spanish flu, which killed more than 1 million Indians, and then by the Rowlatt Act, which stopped Indians from gathering in public places, and then the infamous Jallianwala Bagh massacre in Amritsar, where innocent men, women and children, completely unarmed, had gathered to sing and to rejoice in the new year in a typical Baisakhi style, which we do in North India. And they were mercilessly gunned down with more than 1,650 bullets until the bullets ran out and they stopped shooting. There were people piled one on top of the other. No medical help was given. I have a friend in the Foreign Service whose grandfather, Navdeep Singh Suri's grandfather, was a survivor of Jallianwala Bagh because he was buried right at the bottom of a pile of dead bodies, and when night fell, he was able to crawl out and go into safety. If you go to Amritsar and you look at the place, there is no exit point, there is no place to move out. Jallianwala Bagh is a blood-stained history of British colonialism in India, and General Dyer said he did it to frighten Indians. He did not frighten anyone. He was assassinated despite the funds raised by Rudyard Kipling to welcome him back to England. He was assassinated by a young Indian patriot who was then hanged in London. I think that asking for an apology is the least that we can do. They must apologize for this terrible blood-stained history of Amritsar, which has been written about beautifully by many Indian authors, including Navdeep Singh Suri, including Navtesh Sanna, who's written a book, a bestseller called The Crimson Spring. It is something that the country can never forget and never forgive. So today, 105 years later, I bow my head to the patriots and the innocent civilians who were butchered and killed in this terrible manner, and to demand through this television channel a full apology from His Majesty's royal government for this terrible massacre of innocent civilians whose the only thing they were doing, they were celebrating Baisakhi and their New Year. Uday.
Lieutenant General KJ Singh also is with us live. Lieutenant General KJ Singh, your thoughts as we commemorate and remember those who lost their lives in 1919 in Amritsar after the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. It's a bittersweet Baisakhi every year, isn't it? Lieutenant KJ Singh, can you hear me? Okay, I think we've lost him there. Ramneek Singh Mann, would you like to take that if you can hear me and you're there with us?
Yeah, hi, good evening to everyone. A very happy Baisakhi, and my congratulations to all on Khalsa Sarjana Divas. Today is the day when, in 1699, Guru Gobind Sahib Sache Pasha, the 10th Master, the 10th Guru, had established the Sikh faith, the Khalsa faith. All right, so coming back to the Jallianwala Bagh massacre, well, I believe that the British imperial government at that time, their officers in India, were arrogant, brutally monstrous, and inhumane to fire upon the civilians gathered. They were unarmed, they were helpless, and they were trapped. The third and important point in the Hunter Commission, while disposing before the Hunter Commission, well, the general said that if I was able to bring in the machine guns, I would have brought in the machine guns, and then in that case, the number of casualties would have been very, very high. All that the British could do in 100 years is that they had deeply regretted the incident in 2019 on the 100th anniversary of Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Even till date, 105 years later, the British government is so arrogant. They're so deeply entrenched in the colonial era they're yet to come out of, that they haven't yet apologized for this brutality and inhumanity. The reason may be because they've committed several such crimes in several colonies, not just in India, but in Africa. And once they apologize, and then, it's going to be a Pandora's box open, where they will have to apologize for every inhuman act that they have committed over the, 200 or 300 years of slavery that they had ruled over half the world. And their inhuman activities, their inhuman way of dealing with the civilians, and their monstrous acts would come out. So I completely concur and agree with the Ambassador Mukherjee that the British should not be in any shame. They should come out and apologize for their acts of 1919 Jallianwala Bagh massacre, as also the other inhuman crimes that they have committed over their colonies in the 200 years or so of their Raj.
Utpal Kaul, how shocking was the fact, Utpal, that, we saw how General Dyer was actually not punished for what transpired there, but actually rewarded. There was actually crowdfunding done and cash was given to him on his return to the UK. Utpal Kaul, can you hear me? Okay, I think we are having trouble there with our guests today. But Bhashpati Mukherjee also is still with us. Bhashpati ji, let me come back to you on that aspect. You know, of the fact that there was obviously no morality at that point. That it was not just an isolated incident or mindset by General Dyer, but this was reflective of what people in the United Kingdom were thinking at that point. That there was actually crowdfunding done and this individual was given that cash, given that prize, and there was no punishment actually given to him at all by the United Kingdom for that atrocity.
If I'm not mistaken, the crowdfunding was initiated by Kipling, and the concept at that time was that India was the white man's burden, that we were unfit to govern ourselves, and that we would be governed by our slave masters for the next 1,000 years. The British never ever thought that they would leave India, because living in India was so comfortable for them. They had their compradors, those who collaborated with them, and with the help of the collaborators, they were able to establish an iron grip over a country that controlled 50% of the world's GDP when they came here in 1757 with the Battle of Plassey. And when they left us with less than 0.1% of the world's GDP, partitioned, bleeding, wounded, and without our self-esteem. So it's not just Jallianwala Bagh. They should apologize for coming to a country with a great history and civilization, looting our heritage, taking away our artifacts, taking advantage of the fact that Maharaja Ranjit Singh was a minor and stealing his artifacts, and then putting it in the British Museum. And I can tell you that when I was ambassador to UNESCO, and we had a meeting with the director of the British Museum, he told me that these artifacts can never be returned to India because they are much safer in the British Museum than in India's National Museum. That is their attitude, Uday, in this day and age. They sincerely believe they did us a favor by coming, making us into slaves, colonizing us, brutalizing us, looting us, and committing massacres like Jallianwala Bagh. In Jallianwala Bagh, if you look at the histories which have been written about it, you will see that when night fell, there was just a little bit of movement of gravely wounded people. Never once did the British think that they should go in and try to extricate these human beings, living people, and take them to a hospital. When General Dyer was asked this question, he said he did not think it was necessary. He said if they were not sufficiently wounded, they could crawl to the nearest hospital. That was his attitude. The best thing that ever happened was his assassination. The worst thing in my concept that happened was that his so-called assassin was hanged, because it was not an assassination, in my opinion. It was an execution of a monster. The man who killed General Dyer was a true Indian patriot. He executed a monster. Uday.
Ramnik Man, is it too much to expect a full-fledged apology, by the British for this incident now? Should we insist on that? There was regret, but there still has been no full-fledged apology, Mr. Man. Ramnik Man, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, yes.
That question was for you.
Yeah. So yes, they should apologize. And like I said, if they apologize, they will have to apologize for all the inhuman acts that they've committed over the 200 years of, colonization of various countries that they've committed. Also, that apology is one aspect. The financial impact to the Indian economy, as Ambassador Mukherjee was mentioning, was enormous. In that day, before 1947, they had looted 45 trillion pounds sterling worth from India, which is, we're still striving to be a $5 trillion economy. We're striving to be the third largest economy in the world. Imagine the kind of wealth they've looted from this country. Imagine the kind of deep scar that they have, the wounds that they have inflicted upon the conscience of this country. Despite several generations on now, the sense of slavery, the sense of, looking down upon your own society and your own culture is so entrenched and so deep-rooted that it's very difficult to get it out. The corrupt system that they established in this country is still a burden on the progress and development of this country. So the scars, the wounds, the damage that the British have done to this country
All right, I think we've lost Ramneek Singh Man's connection, unfortunately, there. Let me attempt to get in Lieutenant General Kamaljeet Singh, if he can hear me now. Lieutenant Singh, I was trying to ask you the question earlier also on, this shocker of an incident of Jallianwala Bagh, which we are commemorating today. We're remembering the victims. It's, of course, a bittersweet Baisakhi, certainly. Lieutenant General KJ Singh, isn't it?
Uday, Jai Hind, it's a great day for the whole nation to pay homage to the martyrs, helpless martyrs of Jallianwala Bagh. I've been to that place many times. Every time you go there, it evokes very nostalgic kind of reverence to those helpless people. After all, it was just an arrest of two activists and then a self-styled temporary brigadier passed these orders. And if you see that place now, it has been restored to not, I have some reservations from the way it has been restored, but all the same, it has been restored. So if you go through that place, I even tried to sort of put myself in that posture, that how those people would have tried to find their way out in a narrow gully like that, and how mercilessly these people. I have interacted with British Army people. They say that it did shake their conscience, especially because Indian soldier was doing well in World War I, did very well in World War II. So it did shake their conscience. It's not as if all British were bad. One thing they say often is that this was an activity of East India Company. They get away by that. Now, we are not giving them a free pass. Nobody wants to give them a free pass on that issue. But the fact of the matter is, there are people in British Army who have been served with Sikh Regiment, Punjab Regiment, Sikh Light Infantry, and in Bombay Sappers, some artillery regiments which have large Sikh troop strength. They have very different kind of a thing from what officially the position is. It's not as if British did not get ashamed of it. After this, there was an incident in Kenya also of Mau Mau massacre. So there was great debate, and that debate carries on till now, that how should army people deal with civilians when they are army. When I say army, I also mean paramilitary forces. So the principle is very simple. It has to be necessity, minimum force, impartiality, and good faith. All these four factors were not applied. It was not necessary. There was no impartiality. Force was out of proportion. And where was good faith? So we have no choice but to condemn, and to that extent, one doesn't feel happy when somebody is killed in whatever way. But shooting down of Dyer was something which helped to assuage a large amount of angst which was there in Punjab. And I would compliment historians and others. They've now made a partition museum also on a different theme. So Amritsar has become a repository of resident, resurgent, resilience kind of a theme which is there in Punjabis. And that's why I recommend to everybody to go and visit Jallianwala Bagh. And if possible, stand there in silence and try and figure out how those people coped up with that tragedy. So I salute your channel for taking up this subject. Thank you then.
Let me get in Utpal call at this point as well. Utpal ji, we were trying to come to you earlier as well on this aspect of, the fact that the UK may have forgotten Jallianwala Bagh, may not be apologizing for it, but we in India have certainly not. Today, Prime Minister Modi has also remembered the atrocities of 1919.
Uday, thank you very much for inviting me for very important debate discussion. Let me first pay my humble and sincere homage to our brave people of India who fought against the British, and particularly the sacrifices which Indians gave at Jallianwala Bagh. I remember my grandfather took me to Jallianwala Bagh when I was 9 years old. Since then, I must have visited more than 20, 30 times. And the first impression is still in my heart and mind, how hundreds, and now as a student of history, I can say that nearly 3,000 people were massacred in Jallianwala Bagh. And some historians count with 300 people, some say 500, some say 1,200 or 1,500. But I am totally convinced it must be round about 3,000 people. The way General Dyer attacked innocent people, unarmed people on 13th of April 1990. It was not a big issue. It was a peaceful demonstration on Baisakhi Day because two leaders, Satpal and Saifullah, were arrested, and they wanted why they are arrested, and it was because earlier it was a protest against the Revolt Act. But let me go further. When 20 years back, Queen of England came and she paid a visit to Jallianwala Bagh and to Darbar Sahab, whole of nation expected when she will be at Jallianwala Bagh, she will say sorry. But she just mentioned regret. And her foreign minister was Mr. Cook was with her, and he was fumed that why Queen will say sorry. She will not say sorry. But I remember our Prime Minister at that time, Mr. Indra Kumar Gujral, he said that we consider you Britishers and your government, you as third raters. You are third raters. And I may repeat here, they are third raters. There is no question of saying few are good and few are bad. If I go on, I can go on hours to say what they have done in Africa and what they have done in different parts of Asia, and particularly in India. And Jallianwala is the testimony of that, how physically they have attacked, how my previous debaters here were saying how they have looted our 45 trillion pounds from here. What happened to the textiles in Bengal, the linen, what we call as Dhaka ki Malmal, how they looted, how they finished our textile industry. And it was because of wealth of India and the cotton taken to Manchester and what we call as Industrial Revolution. So
I would like to add also something after this, if you would permit to this, once we finished. I wanted to add something.
It is high time. We must. I today tweeted, and we say I have said that we will never forget.
Absolutely, we should never forget Jallianwala Bagh, no doubt, sir. I'm running out of time. 30 seconds, Ambassador Mukherjee. I have to move on to some breaking news coming in. Yes.
I just wanted to explain to General Kamaljeet Singh that the East India Company rule ended after 1857. India was being directly ruled by the British monarchy when Jallianwala Bagh happened, and therefore, legally, it is the British monarchy and the British government that is totally liable. Moreover, a professional soldier, as you would know, General Singh, as General Dyer claimed to be, is not supposed to shoot without giving any prior notice on innocent, unarmed men, women and children out to celebrate a social festival. Therefore, what General Dyer did was, he also broke the rules which are inherent in a professional army expected from disciplined soldiers, and especially in a country whose soldiers contributed just before that to the success of United Kingdom in World War I, who went to the trenches and faced chemical weapons. The brave Sikh soldiers who were asked to urinate on their turbans.
Yes.
And is that the way to treat our Punjabi and Sikh brothers by Jallianwala Bagh? No, we cannot let them off by saying it was East India Company. It was the British Crown, the British government, and India will never rest until they apologize. And I'm a Bengali by that. I'm not a Punjabi.
Appreciate all our guests for joining us on this discussion.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.